happy to have the Montgomery County Board of Elections to be here to demonstrate that. So can we please give them a hand again? And I have some slides that would come up because as many of you know, Montgomery County is growing. Not only is growing, but it's also growing diverse as well. And so we have approximately 1,030,000 residents in Montgomery County. And of the 1,030,000, 1 out of every 3 is foreign born. Exactly. And out of the foreign born population, the African community makes up 20% of that, and is also one of the fastest growing population in the county. The Latino community is number 1, and the African community is number 2, fastest growing in Montgomery County. So why is it important? Because recently, I think a couple of days ago, there's a research that was done by the 7thStreet.com. It's a website that is good for data analysis about non-voters in Montgomery County. And where we sit right now in Silver Spring, Tacoma Park, there are 32% of non-voters who, again, these are registered and they could vote, but they're not voting. And so it's important for us to not only know who those voters are, but also how do we engage them. So that's why, as the popular saying, numbers don't lie. So let's look at black residents of Montgomery County. Again, our percentage, the black population is about 19% of the county's population. But again, as I told you that within the black population, it's also, that's all of us are African Americans, so black African Americans. The number is not disaggregated for us to get the numbers of Caribbeans and the numbers of Africans. But however, again, when we look at the foreign-born census data, that kind of gives us an idea in terms of the percentage of foreign-born residents who came from the continent or came from the Caribbean. But that also, most of the time would not count the second generation. So again, an immigrant who will have their children here in the United States. So the first slide, it's a very interesting one because when you look at the black population, you'll see that our population is very young. So we have between 18 and 24 and 25 to 34, those are the peaks of our populations. So people are coming into the county, either being brought by their parents or they're just graduating from college and they're getting the first job in Washington, D.C., and they move into Montgomery County. But we also see that people who are getting their second jobs, and these are the medium income jobs, after first year of college, the age range of 25 to 34, that's where they're having their master's degree, and now they're getting, again, a higher and a good paying job. So that is good for our county because we want to make sure that our tax base, not only we're able to keep wealthy because we're so blessed in Montgomery County to not only be affluent, but also be very progressive and we have, again, needs that our residents want to make sure that those needs are met. So by having a young and a growing population, it helps the tax base. We're also seeing an increase in home ownership within the black population as well, especially the black immigrant population, which is a good thing. Because as many of you know, property taxes is how the county government is funded and even the local government. So the more we're able to get the 25 to 34-year-olds not only living in Montgomery County, but actually buying homes in Montgomery County or starting businesses in Montgomery County, it's good for the county. And again, the median household income, you see that it varies because we're looking at the total black population. But we do that in comparison to the white population. Clearly, there's, there was a hit in the recession where the black income growth did not grow as fast as other income. But we've also seen that it's been the highest since 2009 to 2014 when we look at the growth that has taken place in terms of growth of income within the black population. So let's go to the second slide, because we do have residents that are in need, and so we need to make sure we're mindful of that. So we still see that there are black families that are in poverty in Montgomery County. Over 7,250 black families and children 18 years live in poverty. So again, as we look at the population, we see that there are folks who are doing somewhat well, some folks who the recession really hit hard, and some folks are coming back. But again, we still have a large number of black families that are in poverty. And then when we look at the percentage of families with single parent in comparison to others, we see that there are 46% of black families, but 23% of single family households are in poverty. So that's a troubling number. And we need to definitely make sure we keep that in mind. So as black families are coming into the county, it's always good to know, because I say it's the second fastest growing community, the black community in Montgomery County. So it's good to look at where the entry points are. Where are people coming in as they come into the county, in order for us to be able to engage them and make sure that they are involved civically. So let's go to the next slide. So we look at the entire map of Montgomery County. In 1998, based on the thickness of the color, you'll see where black families lived in Montgomery County. So you see Tacoma Park, Silver Spring, Buttonsville, and then the Rockville area. Those were the highly concentrated areas of black families in the 1980s. So we come to a decade later, in 1990, you see a continuous increase. These are the entry points where black families are coming into the county. Tacoma Park, Silver Spring, Buttonsville, and then there was a decline in the black family in the Rockville area. Another decade, in 2000, we see a higher concentrated of black families moving into the county through Tacoma Park, Silver Spring, and some now we see, again, a sustaining number in the Rockville area, but we start to see an increase in the Gettysburg area. And then in 2010, of course, this is when we did the 2010 census, we saw that there was an increase of 32% from 2005 to 2010 when it comes to the increase in the black family in Montgomery County. So there was a significant growth. But the entry points, again, stays the same. Tacoma Park, Silver Spring. Now we see some portion of Wheaton, and then Gettysburg, Germantown also growing as well. So what does this mean? Again, we see black families coming, but we keep saying that the black community is not monolithic. So we have various, folks from the continent, folks from the Caribbean who are coming into the county. So the last slide breakdown in terms of the growth that is taking place. So we see the immigrant portion of the black family accounts for over 60% of the increase within the year 2000, 2010, and 2014. So in conclusion, the message is that we want to make sure that 32% of the black community get civically engaged. Because right now, based on the previous election cycle, those who voted is saying that they are non-voters, 32%. We're not even talking about those who currently have their green cards and they're on their way to naturalization. We're just talking about those who either they are first-generation Africans or second-generation African Americans. So it's so important for us to work collectively and make sure that we get and engage all our community members so that when election time comes, we also help them to turn out as well to vote. So thank you so much for this time, and thank you for the opportunity.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do.
Yeah, but I don't know where to start. That's why we're here. We're free, handsome,
I think we're breathtaking.
and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. I got this. Is that Bran? Colleges love extracurricular activities.
Chess really isn't my thing.
I got this. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.
Fire and ice.
Those don't really go together.
Go to GetSchooled.com for more info.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
At this point, I would like to transition to closing remarks. Please remember that you have 1.5 minutes to respond so we can get you out of here on time. Let me go ahead and start with Mr. Raskins. And I'm going to mix it up a bit so that you get an opportunity to think about what you want to say.
Good, except me. Okay. Look, I think I have been able to communicate my record of effective progressive advocacy and leadership over the decades as a professor of constitutional law, as a community activist right here in Silver Spring and Tacoma Park, and as the state senator for the last 10 years, where I've also been able to chair several legislative committees and to be the majority whip for the Democrats. Look, public office is something that we earn. It's not something that we buy in the United States of America. So this congressional district has suddenly become a kind of national laboratory for how people get elected to office. And I just want to say there is a logic to the American system of federalism, where people get involved at the local level, here in Tacoma Park and Silver Spring. I can't tell you the number of committees that I served on here, the redistricting committee, Democratic precinct official, precinct vice official, and so on and so forth. And then I ran for the state senate, and I've served in the state senate for 10 years. I've had 150,000 constituents. I give everybody my cell phone number. I meet with everybody. I fight for everybody's interests. And now I think I'm ready to run for Congress, having learned the parliamentary skills and having exposed the public to what my talents are. what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. I don't propose just to go right to the U.S. Congress without serving you first. So I would say I humbly submit my petition to you. I think and I hope that I have earned your vote in running for Congress from the 8th Congressional District. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Jawanda.
Thank you, Ngozi. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I'm always excited to see diverse crowds caring about democracy. I think this election is an important election, not just nationally. You get 3 votes for federal office, President, U.S. Senate, and Congress. And those are important elections, as well as the local elections. And right now, we send the same types of people with the same backgrounds, with the same wealth and connections to Congress. It's the reason that Congress has a 14% approval rating. It's a reason that 53% of the people in Congress are millionaires for the first time in our country's history. We have 3 millionaires running in this race. And we have outside of that, we have the people with the same types of life experience for the most part. What my suggestion to you is let's send someone to Congress who understands what working people are going through because they've lived it and are living it. When I talk about child care, it's because I have 3 kids under 5 and we struggle every month to pay child care. When we talk about student loan debt, it's because my wife and I have $160,000, sorry honey, in student loan debt. When we talk about elder care, it's because we take care of my dad who came down with cancer and lost his job, and thank God for Obamacare, we signed him up, and now he's living with us. Those are the things that most people are dealing with. And I'll tell you what's not represented in Congress are the people who understand those issues. The wealthy, the well-connected, the career politicians, the people who have done the normal route are represented. It's time for something new because we're at a new moment in history. This is not the seat that Chris Van Hollen ran for 14 years ago. It's a different seat and it's a different time. And I would ask that you consider me for your vote. Thank you very much.
Mr. Skolnick.
Okay. I mentioned this in an earlier forum today. I was watching television last night about what was happening in Chicago at the rally. It reminded me of the 1960s when there was a lot of chaos in the country, a lot of conflict. And what we need now, not only on the presidential level, but on the Senate level and the House level, candidates who will unite Americans, not divide them. And I think moderate candidates, because the way the system is set up with the party primaries and caucuses, you often get the extremes, both the left and the right. I think it would be nice for Montgomery County, Frederick County, and Carroll County to send a moderate Republican to Congress. It'd be very unusual, for one thing. And it would probably get national attention and hopefully encourage other moderate candidates who want to unify rather than divide the country to run for office. It takes a lot of time, as all the people here can testify, a lot of time running for office, and a lot of people are unfortunately discouraged from doing that. But I believe that the country needs moderates who are willing to unite the country, and that's what my campaign is about.
Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez?
Thank you. Thank you. These are indeed critical times, and if you've watched the debates, you understand how critical it is for your vote to matter and make the right selections. I think it's time for us to have new voices, as my friend Will says, but new voices that are inclusive, that are tolerant, that know who we are and what are the needs of our community. I was the first Latina ever elected in Maryland, the first Latina, the first Salvadoran American elected in the United States. The largest foreign-born community in Maryland and in Montgomery County are Salvadorans. I think it's time for us to be able to have a voice and a seat at the table so that the proposals that a Mr. Trump dares to put on the table are simply not acceptable. We have to push back on that kind of thinking and that kind of approaches that would close the door in so many of us. I'm ready from day one to be that candidate to push back. I have the Bold Pack, which is all 26 members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. We'll be ready on day one because we've been working together already. I want to be there to represent all of us in our experience. And I am known as a fighter. I will not sit quietly on the side and wait for other people to give me permission. I don't do that. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you what my passions are. And remember my name. It goes from A to Z. Hannah Sol Gutierrez.
All right, then.
Very good.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Deeply appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all. Will made my speech for me, just about. Running for Congress is because it's a House of Representatives, and it needs to be somebody who truly understands and represents the folks who are in the district. I reached my first $1,000 contribution this week. So I'm raising my money $25 and $30 at a time. We need to recognize that it's life experience, like having parents who are going through dementia, having been a part of the community where I've had to bury those who have been taken by violence. I've had the opportunity to nurture and encourage those who have had a difficult time in life. I understand. And this district deserves someone who can represent and understand the challenges of real people, the common people in the district we're representing. And I think I have a good opportunity to do that for us, to be a fresh voice, a new voice, and an opportunity to represent the district and bring the opportunity to truly work at compromise, at working together, at recognizing that the power of this nation has been that we have taken ideas and worked together to make it possible. Thank you. And I approve this message.
Ms. Matthews.
It was my honor to serve you and serve this community for 30 years as a journalist, really going into your neighborhoods and telling the stories of what was happening in your lives and the lives of this community. And then I had the great fortune of working for the past 9 years for a global company, which gave me that global mindset, that opportunity to see how the global economy works and how you create jobs in places like South Africa and Rwanda with innovative business solutions. Business also teaches you problem solving, and I'm very grateful for having that experience. Like many on the panel here, my husband and I came to Washington, him out of the Peace Corps, me out of college with college loans and college debt. We got married, we raised 3 kids, and over 80 years of combined salaries, we're at a position now where I can quit my job and run for Congress full time and really earn your vote by spending the last 9 months talking to you, just like I did as a reporter all those years, to hear your stories and your concerns and be your voice in Congress. But I also am animated in this campaign by the fact that not only do we have a Congress that doesn't have enough minority representation, it doesn't have enough women. 50% of our population is women. 50% of you out there in the audience are women, and the Congress is only 1/5, 20% women. And so I'll yield the rest of my time because that'll show you, it'll demonstrate for you the fact that we do not have enough women's voices in Congress, and we need to build women's voices if we want to build women's choices.
Finally, Mr. Barvey.
Thank you. It's been my great honor to represent you as a member of the legislature. I, as I've said, became the first Indian American elected to any state legislature, the first person of color to be elected chair of the Montgomery delegation, and then to be the majority leader of the Maryland House of Delegates for 12 years. And through it all, though, I've never forgotten my grandfather, the fact that he was stripped of his citizenship in a racist move by the Supreme Court, and that he had to fight to reclaim it. That has been an animating feature of my life in many, many regards. And let me mention that, you know, the Baltimore Sun has described me as a staunch but pragmatic liberal, and I'm very proud of that moniker. But let me say one other thing that hasn't been mentioned and that I think is very, very important. There's only one other Hindu in the United States Congress. I would be the second, and I have been particularly disturbed by the discrimination that has been seen from Donald Trump and others directed against Muslims. And as a Hindu, I have a very keen appreciation of what it's like to be a part of a misunderstood and sometimes despised religious minority. And no one else has mentioned it, so I will. There will simply be no better person to defend people who have minority and misunderstood religious points of view than this Hindu kid who grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. Thank you.
Very good. I'd like to thank each of you for making the time to join us this afternoon and for sharing your perspective and views on these various topics with us.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite Isaac, our producer, up here now to close out.
The Maryland primary election is on Tuesday, April 26th. Early voting begins on April 14th. Be sure to get out and vote. And I want to thank all the candidates, both Senate and Congressional District 8 for coming. And I want to thank all the elected officials that made it out today. And I want to thank you, the audience, for making this event happen, and thank the viewers for watching. Make sure you get out and vote, and make sure you continue participating in important events such as this in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.